All right, here we are once again for News Explained. This time we're going over the results that we just released from Homestake Ridge. The 2025 program focused mainly on Homestake Silver because we've already done quite a bit of work at Homestake Main. And it was sort of a three-part program. One was expanding out our higher grade plunge to the north. And then also we were looking for a second higher grade zone deeper down. So we did a couple of holes underneath and to the north. And then we did some infill as well because Homestake Silver, when it came to us in 2022, it had about 18 million ounces of silver and about 150,000 ounces of gold in the old or in the resource. We've been working the last couple of years to de-risk both Homestake Main and Homestake Silver. So we've been doing some infill drilling as well, and that's really been successful in bringing some high-grade gold and silver numbers. And mineralization we've defined is significant at Homestake Silver in that it's very wide intervals, so 100-meter wide intervals, 50-meter wide intervals that we released earlier. We drilled 31 holes over this summer at both Homestake Silver and Homestake Main. The focus of this summer at Homestake Ridge was Homestake Silver. We did get that in 2022, and the majority of the ounces were in the inferred category. So we did a combination, sort of a threefold program. One was expanding out on this high-grade plunge that we've been defining over the last couple of years, both to the north and then looking underneath the deposit for another sequence that may open up again. And then we did some infill because a lot of those ounces that were from the resource done in 2019 are the inferred category, so we de-risked it. And then the third portion was expanding out the plunge towards the bottom. So we found that it's not just a straight line. This is a long section of Homestake Silver mainly. And we've been talking about this high-grade plunge that we're defining. And what that is a sort of a bend in the system where things open up. So we have very wide intervals. And one of our holes that we've already reported in this northern end here is, for example, ran 3.34 grams gold over 120 meters, so core length. So, probably in true width, it's about 90 to 100 meters. But these are very wide intervals of stock work, strong alteration. And then within that, there's these very high grade feeders that are anywhere from 50 centimeters to 2 meters wide. And in that same hole, 456 that we reported earlier in October, had 216 grams gold over half a meter, and then another interval of 166 grams gold over 1.3 meters. So these are very high grade feeders coming up through there, and with this continued drilling, we found that those systems continue. So this section in here, we call them the north step outs. All those drill holes were just following that plunge out as it projected down towards underneath Homestake Main. And so that's where a follow-up hole on 456 is 458, where we had 2.5 grams of gold and 4 grams silver over 80 meters. So again, really wide intervals with these high-grade veins and vein breccias of 39.39 grams gold and 39 grams silver over 3.25 meters. So these numbers, you notice, don't have a lot of silver in them. So as we get to the north end, it's mainly gold, and then in the southern end of Homestake Silver, that's where the namesake comes from. So remember, this is still a predominantly gold deposit, but because it has a higher ratio of silver down in the south, it's called Homestake Silver. So those holes were basically expanding and infilling the silver zone. So that was our hole 466. That was the headline of the news. Again, wide intervals, 48.49 meters, grading 4.66 grams gold. But here we have 33 grams silver, which over that large interval is not that high, but again, those high-grade breccias show that it has a lot more silver in the system. For example, 52 grams gold with 306 grams of silver. So our silver numbers are getting much higher up in this southern end. And we've now defined it for about 250 meters in this main trend vertically. And we did one hole deep down underneath, hole 454. That's almost 400 meters below the center point here. So this is a very robust system. And we're still getting, 5.58 grams gold over almost 10 meters. So it's still a fairly well mineralized, even at that depth. And again, those high grade intervals, 30 grams gold over half a meter, just show that those high grade feeders are coming from depth. And then the other part of the program was in the center here, infill. And then we were stepping down below the main trend. We're finding that there's a sort of a dip down of this higher grade zone. So that added about 150 meters vertical to that extent there. So those those were mainly infill, but some of those holes again were below the deposit, and we're finding that the mineralization continues at that depth there. So here we have the plan view of Homestake Ridge, just to get ourselves oriented. They're structurally hosted veins and vein breccias. And this trend here is the same structural trend that dives underneath our sedimentary cap. And on our last news release, where we talk about the Central Valley Fault, that is what we project up to here. So we see these deposits, these higher level gold and silver deposits, and Homestake Ridge deposit on the same structure that cut across the Wolf section 10 kilometers to the south. So in terms of this summer's program, it was a 3-part program. One was focused down in the south here, where we were infilling and expanding vertically the silver rich zone. So that's where the majority of the silver ounces in our current mineral resource of Homestake Ridge come from. And then the central portion, the second part of our program, was infill and then expansion of that high-grade plunge to depth. And then the third kind of segment that we did was northern step out. So we're working our way towards Homestake Main with a much deeper plunge direction. So it would sit underneath the plunge of the mineralization at Homestake Main. This news release is 26 holes of the total 31 holes that we did drill at Homestake Ridge. Mainly concentrated at Homestake Silver. We've already released 5 holes, so this release was the remaining 26. These are good results, successful step outs, successful infill. We'll be putting these numbers into our current modeling that will go into our updated mineral resource estimate coming later this year.